Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Steve Shannon, your announcer for the 2024 Saskatoon Remembrance Day Service. I welcome you to the services today, where we, as a community, commemorate the sacrifice of all those who served our country, past and present. We are fortunate that every year, hundreds of organizations, military, protective services, Veterans Affairs, government agencies, businesses, and individuals in Saskatoon purchase wreaths, both as a symbol of remembrance and supporting our veterans. Wreaths have become an eternal symbol of Remembrance Day. Funds raised from the purchase of wreaths goes to the Poppy Fund as well to support veterans locally and across the province. We would like to thank all the organizations who have purchased wreaths, and their names are noted on the screen throughout the service. The service today is supported by two orchestral bands, the Saskatoon Concert Band and the Salvation Army Band. Musical director is Peter England. George Charpentier is the director of the Saskatoon Concert Band. Vienna Sawatsky is the director of the Salvation Army Band. The Mass Pipes and Drums, led by Pipe Major Jeff Harris, North Saskatchewan Regiment Pipes and Drums, along with members of the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 63, Pipes and Drums, and the Saskatoon City Police Pipe Band. Also joined Saskatoon Tri-Service Cadet Band under the direction of Lieutenant Haley McRae. Thank you, and welcome again to our service this morning. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Steve Shannon, your announcer, and I would like to welcome those joining us at home on TV or live stream today with the 2020 Remembrance Day Service here at SaskTel Center. As we celebrate 2024, we would like to let you know that the parade is commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Graver of the North Saskatchewan Regiment. He is joined by Deputy Commander today, Major Scott Carlson, and Parade Sergeant Major Chief Warrant Officer Jason Balkin. 2024 is the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Thousands of Saskatchewan citizens have served in the RCAF since its inception. The theme of the commemoration this year recognizes significant contributions of the RCAF and its veterans. This year, we are very pleased to be joined by Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, His Honor Russ Mirasty, and Her Honor Donna Mirasty for today's service. His Honor is a 36-year veteran of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, retiring as Assistant Commissioner. His Honor will join 2 RCAF veterans today, taking the compliments at the end of the parade. First is 102-year-old Flight Lieutenant Stan Hodgins, who flew during World War II with the 113 Squadron hunting German submarines off the coast of Nova Scotia. Mid-war, Stan was transferred to the 436 Squadron in India, supporting the British Army in their fight against the Japanese. Second is Warrant Officer Retired Al Boyce, who served in the RCAF for 26 years. He is a veteran of the Gulf War, deploying with 409 as the Canadian Air Contingent defending Iraq, and in the defeat, rather, of Iraq in 1990. Their bios are on the back of your program. Ladies and gentlemen, I now direct your attention to the screen for some special interviews of each of these gentlemen.
My name is Al Boyce, Warrant Officer retired, served in the Canadian Armed Forces in the Air Element from 1968 to 1994. One of the reasons I joined the military was there used to be a lot of advertisements out there saying, join the military, see the world, so I said, what better place to go? And my father had served in the Army during the Second World War, so I said, I think maybe I should try this too. So off I went to basic training, got selected to be an aircraft technician, finished my basic training, went to trade school in Camp Borden, Ontario. And my first posting out of finishing trade school was to South Germany. I served with 4th Service Battalion Maintenance Company, Aircraft Platoon, and we did the maintenance on the Hillers and the L-19s. The Hillers and L-19s were to support the artillery and the Armored Corps. Lo and behold, I got there and I was only there for about 6 months, and the Canadian Forces, or the Canadian government I should say, decided they were going to close those bases and the Army was going to move down with the Air Force. I was just a young private and they said, no, you're going back to Canada. Posted to CFB Moose Jaw, spent 7 years there. While there, I was honored to be a member of the Canadian Forces Snowbirds in 74-75, part of the maintenance team. I also got to fly with the Snowbirds everywhere they deployed to. And there I moved on and I went to Winnipeg and I worked on Hercs for approximately a year. And then I got posted to CFB Shearwater. I worked on the Sea King helicopters, and I was on 3 air departments in the Nipigon, Skeena, and Saguenay. I did approximately 5 years there, and I got posted into Coal Lake on the new F-18 program. I did 4 years there, and I was lucky enough to get posted back to Germany to CFB Baden. I was part of 409 Squadron. 409 Squadron was chosen to be the squadron to deploy on op friction due to the invasion of Iraq into Kuwait. We finally arrived at Qatar, which was our operating base. We originally went there with 18 F-18s and they increased them to 24. My job at the time was I was actually the servicing warrant officer. So I was responsible for the park, start, refuel of all the aircraft that were deployed. And our main purpose there was to do CAPs, which is called Combat Air Patrols. And the reason why we deployed the F-18s was to protect the Canadian destroyers in the Gulf. Well, when we got off the aircraft in Qatar, when we first arrived there, it was about 40 above, so it was extremely hot. We didn't know exactly what we were going into. They said there's a possibility that there could be chemical weapons, so we were also trained in NBCW. It turned out that they were not deployed, at least not when I was there. But the biggest concern was when the Iraqis were shooting off the Scud missiles. And there was a few that landed close to our base. That happened after I was there, but other than that, we were fairly safe, I think. What I was always so proud of is that I was in a squadron that was asked to be the first squadron to deploy. Originally, we didn't know when we were leaving exactly where we were going. We didn't know how long we were going to be there. So I was only there approximately 7-8 weeks, and then I deployed back to Canada. We were very fortunate that we never had any casualties, but it was important, and the people that I worked with, we trained for many years, and we don't always get the opportunity to do what we were trained to do. And I think that was probably the proudest moment, that we were actually launching aircraft that were designed to do what they were intended to do.
My name is Stanley Howard Hodgins. At the end of the war, my rank was flight lieutenant. At the beginning, of course, I was an AC-2. I was born and raised in Mortlach, Saskatchewan, and I joined the Air Force because I didn't want to be in the Army, which I thought might happen. I was trained as a navigator. Everybody wanted to be a pilot, and so did I. We did the same training, and then at the end of our course, they decided, you're going to be a pilot, you're going to be a navigator. Those of us who went as navigators weren't particularly happy, but I think I was a good navigator. I was never lost. I was posted to 113 Squadron, which was stationed at Sydney, Nova Scotia, and my job there, watch out for German submarines on the coast of Nova Scotia. We had bombs on board. We were supposed to report what we saw anyway and drop a bomb.
Mid-war, Stan was transferred to India 12,000 kilometers from Nova Scotia and assigned to 436 Squadron, supporting operations in Burma on DC-3 Dakota aircraft.
And our job was to keep the British supplied with food, ammunition, and whatever they needed to drive the Japanese back and out of there. DC-3 was a good aircraft, would carry heavy load, and on one particular trip, as we were moving southward, our port engine conked out. The aircraft would fly quite well with one engine, with a small load, but we were heavily loaded, so pilot said, "Lighten the load." So what did we do? we looked at each other. Who's going to go? The door opened, and we threw out loads and loads of stuff. The war in Europe was over, I think, in early 1945. In Burma, we're still there, and we couldn't wait. The 2 months or so difference between the war in Europe and the war in Asia, where we were, we celebrated the end of the war quite nicely.
My name is Russ Mirasty. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, and I'm a former member of the RCMP, having served for 36 years, retiring as the Commanding Officer of F Division Saskatchewan at the rank of Assistant Commissioner. I'm a member of the Lac La Ronge Indian Band, First Nations, and grew up on the reserve adjacent to the town of La Ronge in northern Saskatchewan. During that 36 years, I served at detachments in Saskatchewan before leaving the province to become a dog handler. So I was a dog handler for a number of years, a real highlight for me in terms of my career. I learned later on that a great uncle in our family, Thomas Daniel Mirasty, first of all, he was in the RCMP as a special constable, and then went overseas with the military during the Second World War. We don't have a lot of detail, but I know that he served in Italy before he came back and left the service. On the other side of our family, on Donna's side, my wife, she's originally from Cumberland House, a community that, to my understanding, has the highest per capita people that joined the service during the First and Second World Wars, which to me is astounding because given its isolation in northeastern Saskatchewan. In any event, many of her relatives, Donna's relatives, joined, including her father. And so he went overseas and was wounded in August of 1944. Actually, he was wounded twice. He was wounded the first time by shrapnel, and then the second time he was wounded by a sniper. He suffered with those wounds for the rest of his days, badly scarred, and the pain, I don't think, ever left him. Of course, I traveled all over the province, meeting people from all kinds of backgrounds and communities. We attended the service on Remembrance Day to pay tribute and pay our respects to the veterans. And so that thinking was always with us. And when I say us, Donna and I, and particularly with her father's service and my great uncle, it was also personal. I'm also very aware of the new generation of veterans who continue to serve each and every day around the world, literally in various missions. As I look to the end of my term as Lieutenant Governor for the province of Saskatchewan, I do want to take this opportunity to thank and honor all veterans from every community that has served, continues to serve, to know that your service, whether past or present, is appreciated. I do believe that we need to honor you each and every day and be thankful for what we have. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. On the behalf of the people of Saskatchewan, I thank you for your service.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Cenotaph Guard has fallen into place, and the Cenotaph Guard commander is Sergeant Mike Jansen of the North Saskatchewan Regiment. Sergeant Jansen joined the North Saskatchewan Regiment in 2000. He has also served with the Royal Regina Rifles. He currently works at Nutrien Lanigan Potash Mine as an industrial mechanic. This is his first time as Guard Commander. Representing the Army is Corporal Mike Kowalski of the North Saskatchewan Regiment. Corporal Kowalski previously deployed to Latvia as part of Canada's Operation Reassurance, NATO's defense and determined mission in Eastern Europe in support of Ukraine. Corporal Kowalski grew up in Davidson, Saskatchewan, where he was also a member of the Davidson Fire Department. Representing the RCMP, Constable Kelsey Trott, who served currently and his posting is now in Warman and Martinsville with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He has been a member of the RCMP since 2016. He is also second lieutenant with the North Saskatchewan Regiment. This is Constable Trott's fourth time as Cenotaph Guard at the Saskatoon Remembrance Day Service. Representing the Navy is Second Sailor Class Christine Azur from HMCS Unicorn, who joined the Naval Reserves in 2021 as a naval communicator out of CFB Halifax, Nova Scotia, with the Naval Fleet School Atlantic. In the summer of 2023, she deployed on 3 different naval vessels, including the HMCS Ville de Quebec. Sailor Second Class Azur is completing her 4th year of a BA Science in Nursing. And representing the RCAF is Corporal Davin Lati, joined the RCAF as the member of the reserve in 2014 as an infantryman. His first unit was in the 2nd Irish Battalion in Sudbury, Ontario, where they served until 2018. Corporal Lati transferred the regular service in 2018 as a plumbing and heating technician, serving with 4 Air Combat Service Support Squadrons at CFB Cold Lake in Alberta until July of 2023. Corporal Devon was transferred to the Canadian Forces Detachment in August of 2023 in Dundurn. Markers are now being called for by Jason Balkan.
Still. Markers! Steady!
Chief Warrant Officer Balkan is a veteran of UN duties in the former Yugoslavia and a 27-year member of the Canadian Armed Forces. He's an example of the generational service, as his grandfather and great-uncle both served in the regiment during the Second World War and post-war.
2024 Remembrance Day Parade, Tri-Service Band leading, March On to cadets and service groups.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cadets and service groups led by Tri-Service Cadet Band, Jarvis Bay Sea Cadets, 328 Medical Group, Army Cadets, 2293 North Saskatchewan, Army Cadets, 107 Air Cadets, and 702 Air Cadets, and the Naval League are now being marched on.
Let's hope!
Following the Navy League, members of the Elks, Masons, Shriners, and Knights of Columbus.
'24 Remembrance Day Parade, March On. Tri-Service Band leading, March on the New Guard and Protective Services.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New Guard and Protective Services. Led by HMCS Unicorn, North Saskatchewan Regiment, 16 Medical Company, members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Corrections Services of Canada, Saskatoon Police Service, Saskatoon Fire Department, Provincial Corrections, and Medivy.
Parade will advance left, turn. Parade shoulder dressing right, dress. Shuffle into it. Parade, eyes, front. Parade, stand at ice. Parade, attention.
Chief Warrant Officer Bulkin will now turn the parade over to the Parade Deputy Commander Major Scott Carlson. Major Carlson has served with the Canadian Forces, the Armed Forces, for 21 years and is a veteran of UN duties in the former Yugoslavia. His grandfather served in World War II and was part of the Normandy landing.
East. Parade, attention. Officers, fall in.
Major Carlson has announced for the fall in of the officers, and he will then turn the parade over to Lieutenant Colonel Mike Graver. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Graver has served with CAF for 18 years with the Royal Regina Rifles, the Princess Patricia Canadian Light Infantry, from which he was transferred to the North Saskatchewan Regiment in 2015. He served in Afghanistan in 2009 and is currently a constable in the Saskatoon City Police Service.
Attention! Parade. Stand at ease. Parade. Attention. 2024 Remembrance Day pipes and drums leading. March on, the old guard. Parade. To the old guard. Salute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the March On of the Old Guard, escorted by the mass pipes and drums, led by Pipe Major Jeff Harris of the North Saskatchewan Regiment, along with Branch 63, Saskatoon Police Service Pipes and Drums. Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Guard, consisting of Canadian Forces veterans, Allied Nations veterans, also members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the March On of the Flag Party with our national flag and Canadian Forces ensign.
Great. Attention. Old Guard, advance. Left, turn. Old Guard, right, dress.
Hold guard. Eyes front. Color party. March on the colors. Parade to the colors. Salute.
Escort to the colors, present! Arm!
Parade. Shoulder, arms.
Shoulder! Arm!
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for His Honor Russ Mirasty and Her Honor Donna Mirasty. They're now being led in to our parade square.
Parade. To Lieutenant Governor. Vice Regal salute. Salute.
Present! Arm!
Parade. Shoulder, arms.
Shoulder! Arm!
Lieutenant Colonel Graver is now turning the parade over to officiating clergy, Captain Ivan Nahachowski, MSM, Padre, North Saskatchewan Regiment.
Bienvenue, Tanse, Vitayamo, welcome. We stand here on Treaty 6 territory and the land of the Métis. My name is Padre Ivan Nahachowski, and I am the lead chaplain for today's service. Many thousands of people are here with us in person at Saskatoon at SaskTel Center, and many more are watching from their living rooms as Shaw Cable live streams the event. Of all the Remembrance Day events that are available to you, you have chosen this venue, and we thank you for taking the time to show your respect. Please remain standing for our national anthem. I now invite, if you are able to stand, to please do so.
Stand easy.
Please be seated. It is my pleasure to be the face of the many volunteers who spent countless hours to organize this event, in which we remember and honor those who served and those who serve our country. Our group of faith leaders is deliberately diverse in that we represent our city and our country's multi-faith reality. Our intention is to demonstrate harmony, tolerance, and the ability to respect one another's beliefs. Please participate according to your own consciences. Next, we will hear from the Salvation Army Band for the Hymn of Remembrance, God of Our Fathers. On the parade and in the crowd are our community's veterans who have served with honor and are joined by a new generation of service members who are with us today. This new generation carries on this legacy of service to our country. They bear the responsibility to honor the achievements of past generations, but to evolve and adapt to the changing world, taking on new missions not contemplated by the past. Each generation has made sacrifices in their own way, sacrifices that only they and their families truly understand. Each suffered losses in their own way. Each deserves our complete respect. And now I ask all veterans, military members who wish to be recognized, together with their families, their husbands, their wives, their sons, their daughters, their mothers and their fathers, to please stand. I now call upon Reverend Peter Coolin, Padre TVS, Chaplain of the Royal Canadian Legion, number 78, to lead us in the reading from Hebrew Scripture, Micah 4, 1-4.
In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and peoples will stream to it. Many nations will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go to Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between many peoples and will settle disputes for strong nations, far and wide. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. For the Lord Almighty has spoken, the word of the Lord.
I now invite soloist Tanis Shestervetov to sing "Let There Be Peace on Earth."
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Veterans from World War II and the Korean War are fewer and fewer, with an estimated only 9,000 left with us. But post-Korean veterans are all around us. And this year we highlight the veterans of the Royal Canadian Air Force who celebrate 100 years of loyal service. Please stand if you are able and be silent for the tolling of the bell, followed by the act of remembrance. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. You may now be seated.
Parade. Stand at ease. Stand easy.
I now call upon Elder Peter Nippy of Kiniston First Nations, this year's Indigenous elder, to lead us in the prayer of peace.
Tara me kon ma knabe ma muinueg. Smagan sikanak tot agando paniat. Ap ma muinuat. So no ma sema ap minuan nip migagis ma mo ta ganat benchiget kinagego. Niminga ni gagi togis gak ninga ni agi tokkamegak. At sondan ma kaunda bet tanaganagego timaktot. Minikap me ma muinueng ma tsuam nanik. Matsun abak sendamang. Minut matsun, minut teskutatun. Tanaganami is nakusig ha king, eyes about sendam. Ha minikego minut semagak. Hab me bok sendaman. Minunana at tensigan, minut teskutatun. San go cheese mean nang mum, tagan kinat benchiget. Tanaganagego ito kenting, ke what's minut semagak. How magego king. Ha minikego, hamagona tendamigo, kitchenis gatenan. Ha mum tagan. How thank to be the same again, Nagana Tensigan. Hamsana is about send the man on up Migiskamaguan Sema. And the babies are socks and Minikisitsigan, Habis Itsigan, me Machons and Anatop Megosing. Mamma coming makina, Anokiaganax Magan Sikanak, I thought to mag meek. So you get Kragiswat. Hamnik pay Mike Don't know Magan took connected with Kunim, Chimmy White Mike Tom and Akutaman.
Next, I call to the podium Imam Ibrahim Ali, Islamic Association of Saskatchewan, to lead a prayer for world's suffering.
By the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most compassionate. He says in the Holy Book, Quran, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ أُولَئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Allah says, Allah will certainly test everyone with a touch of fear, hunger, and loss of properties, lives, and crops. But, O Prophet, reassure those who are steadfast and patiently endure. Those who say, while afflicted with a calamity, we belong to Allah, and to Him we shall return. These will be given blessings and mercy from their Lord, and it's they who are rightly guided. O Allah, heal those who are in pain. Help those who are in need, and guide those who are lost. Make ease for those who are suffering. Let them have faith in you deeply when they lose hope. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah, you are alone sufficient to them and the best disposer of their affairs. Thank you.
I now call upon Reverend Mark Kleiner of Christ Church Anglican Regimental Church to lead a prayer for hope.
For those who desire, let us pray. Dear God, we gather today as people with diverse experiences, beliefs, and perspectives. And yet we come together with a common purpose as we remember those who have sacrificed so much for our benefit. As we do so, whether in a spirit of hopefulness or of discouragement, may we always recognize our shared lot together. And may you give strength to the hopeful to accompany the despairing, and strength for the despairing to endure the company of the hopeful, so that the longings in all our hearts for a better world and a better day might deepen our friendships and our commitments to serve and to press on, one day at a time. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official wreath-laying ceremony. Representing the Sovereign, Lieutenant Governor, His Honor, Russ Mirasty. Representing the Government of Canada, MP Corey Tucker. Provincial Government of Saskatchewan, MLA-elect Ken Sheveldayoff. Representing the City of Saskatoon, His Worship Mayor Charlie Clark. Ship's Company of HMCS Unicorn, Lieutenant Commander Mike Sue. North Saskatchewan Regiment, Chief Warrant Officer Albert Boucher. Royal Canadian Mounted Police Veterans Association, Terry Drover. Veterans Affairs Canada, Amanda Philippot. Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit veterans, Private Retired Dave Bona, Gulf War veteran, and UN duties in Somalia and Rwanda. Royal Canadian Legion, Spadina Branch, number 63, President Glenn Toomer. Royal Canadian Legion TVS Branch, number 78, President Elisa Paul. Royal Canadian Legion Nutana Branch, number 362, President Bill Flair. Army, Navy, and Air Force Veterans Association, Maple Leaf Unit, Sergeant Retired Jan Bennett, veteran of Gulf War and UN missions. Army, Navy, Air Force Veterans Association, Unit Number 38, Past President Jim Eaton. All other wreaths at this time may be laid.
I draw your attention now as we welcome Chief Warrant Officer Albert Boucher to offer a tribute to the wounded.
The wounded. For the fallen, there are places for us to remember, honor, and mourn them. Memorials, cenotaphs, and monuments. Carved into the stone and steel of these memorials are their names, deeds, and the places they fought. For the wounded, their battles are carved into their bodies, minds, and spirits. Each morning they rise to face the challenges of the day with what war has left them. They are the embodiment of sacrifice, and as such it is right to honor them. There are those that bear the scars of war, ones we see and ones we do not. We commemorate them, and we have a duty to honor their sacrifice.
We now welcome Colonel Retired Malcolm Young to read In Flanders Field.
In May of 1915, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian medical officer, witnessed firsthand the horrors and the nature of trench warfare and chemical warfare at the Second Battle of Ypres in Belgium. It was like nothing he'd seen before, 14 years before when he served in the Boer War. For the next 17 days, he performed continuous surgeries, and at the end of the 17th day, he faced the task of burying a dear friend. Emotionally and physically, he paused and wrote what is now the most famous war poem throughout our history, In Flanders Fields. I read this poem, and I've read it many times, and each year I gain further insight. When John McCrae wrote this poem, he wrote it as a conversation between the living and the dead. This conversation takes place with the sights and the sounds of the battles that were raging around him, but the realities of nature, the small things like a lark flying nearby. The dead were everywhere, buried in and around the field hospital where he performed surgery. In the poem, the dead beseech us. They beseech the living to carry on the fight for those who serve in uniform and to never forget the sacrifice of the dead for all the rest of us. If you listen to the power of his words, you can hear that conversation between the living and the dead as the poem is read. As it's been mentioned throughout our program today, it's the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. It was only 115 years ago this year that the first powered flight took place in Canada, in Benediction, Nova Scotia, with the Silver Dart. 6 years later, young Canadians were flying over the battlefields of Europe. 1,388 airmen served with the Royal Air Force and paid the ultimate sacrifice in that First World War. McCrae, through his continued service from 1915 to 1917 when he died, would have seen that aerial combat. Many of those who flew in those canvas and wood aircraft did not come home. Saskatchewan has a strong connection to the Royal Canadian Air Force through the thousands of citizens who have served in its ranks throughout multiple generations. And since its formation in 1924, the evolution of the Air Force and the deep connection that it has with Saskatchewan through the Commonwealth Air Training Program, where thousands of Canadians and Allied Allied airmen, navigators, observers, ground crew, came to Saskatchewan throughout multiple locations, including Saskatoon, to learn their trade before they deployed overseas. Our connection is deep. As is our tradition, from the past, we remember 2 Royal Canadian Air Force pilots from different generations that are emblematic of the 100-year service of those who wore the blue uniform. In 1942, brothers from Saskatoon, Joseph and Robert Patterson, joined the Royal Canadian Air Force. These 2 brothers were emblematic of not only their generation, but the young men and women who wanted to serve their country in whatever means possible. Joe was 20 when he joined. He graduated from Bedford Road Collegiate. He played hockey and baseball. And ultimately, he strove to become a pilot. If you look to my right, you'll see a photo of Joe Patterson. He has a smile on his face. At that moment, he was happy. Just below his photo, you will see his pilot's logbook. For a pilot, their logbook is like their Bible. In it, they record every intimate detail of their flying career. From the moment they got in the first aircraft with their first instructor pilot, to the day that they soloed for the first time, every combat air patrol or bombing mission that they did, every aircraft they flew identified by tail number. And Joe kept his pilot book meticulous. So it's not just a book, it is his military life. It is a sacred object. When you read his entries, you get the sense of that young man, his specificity. You know that in April of 1942, he did his first combat air patrol, a scramble over the UK to respond to German bombers. He was later transferred to 417 Squadron in the Mediterranean and flew in Africa. And in December of 1942, he was detached to an air detachment flying over Cyprus. On December 30th, 1942, he was shot down. His brother Bob, or Robert, was on the same squadron in the same air detachment in Cyprus. We don't know if Robert saw his father, his son, and his brother, but what we do know is that that day, Joe Patterson paid the ultimate sacrifice. We remember Captain Walt Niemi, who joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1979, trained as a fighter pilot, flew Starfighter 104s in Europe, later converted to CF-18s, and in 1989, he died while in operations with 410 Squadron Cold Lake, paying the ultimate sacrifice. These two young men symbolize not only service, sacrifice, but the strength and the dedication of the Royal Canadian Air Force, the silent service that every day guards our shores, supports our missions, both here and at home. We remember the over 18,338 members of the Royal Canadian Air Force who died in the service of this country. And now I recite in Flanders Fields. Regardless of whether a soldier is buried or an airman is buried in Canada, Cyprus, or any other cemetery around the world, John McCrae's words from 1915 emulate that service. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce mid heard the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you with failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies blow in Flanders Fields.
And now I call upon the Salvation Army Band, who will lead us in the final hymn, O God, our help in ages past. And now I call upon Rabbi Claudio Jodorowsky of the Congregation Agudas Israel for final remarks and benediction.
As we commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force, let us honor its members with the words of the Royal Air Force March Past. Through adversities we'll conquer, blaze into the stars, a trail of glory. We'll live on land and sea till victory is won. Men in blue, the skies are winging. In each heart, one thought is ringing. Fight for the right. God is our might. We shall be free. I would like to finish by invoking God's blessing upon all of us through the priestly blessing as it's written in the Bible in the book of Numbers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Thank you all who attended today's service and came today. And also thank you to all those watching on Shaw Cable. And now I call the combined bands to lead us in God Save the King. Please rise if you are able.
Attention!
Captain Nahachowski will turn the parade back to Lieutenant Colonel Mike Graver. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, His Honor Russ Mirasty will join distinguished veterans to take the salute from the parade. Flight Lieutenant 102-year-old Stan Hodgins and Warrant Officer Al Boyce.
Parade to the reviewing officer general salute. Present arms. Parade. Shoulder arms. Remainder, stand fast. Old guard will march past in column of route. Color party leading. Move to the right in column of route. Right turn. right, quick, march!
Ladies and gentlemen, led by the mass pipes and drums, led by Major Jeff Harris of the North Saskatchewan Regiment, the Old Guard. Members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Allied Nations, RCMP veterans, and veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, our veterans.
Attention! 2024 Remembrance Day Parade will march past in sequence of units. By the right, right, turn. '24 Remembrance Day Parade will march past. By the right, quick march.
Led by the Tri-Service Cadet Band. Ladies and gentlemen, the march off of the New Guard and Protective Services. HMCS Unicorn. The North Saskatchewan Regiment. '16 Medical Company. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Correction Services of Canada. Saskatoon Police Service. Saskatoon Fire Department. Provincial Corrections. And Medivy. Members of the Jarvis Bay Sea Cadets. 328 Medical Corps Cadets. 2293 North Saskatchewan Regiment Cadets. 107 Air Cadets. 702 Air Cadets, and the Navy League. Members of our service groups. Masons, Shriners, Knights of Columbus, Elks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cenotaph Guard.
Cenotaph Guard, present arms.
Will now be marched off under the direction of Sergeant Mike Jensen,
Cenotaph Guard, shoulder, arms.
Corporal Mike Kowalski, Constable Kelsey Trott,
Cenotaph Guard, reform, single file, quick, march.
Sailor Second Class Christine Accuser, and Corporal Devin Lati.
Cenotaph Guard, quick, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, another hand for the Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, His Honor Russ Mirasty. Flight Lieutenant Stan Hodgins, 102 years old. Warrant Officer Retired L. Rice, for taking the salute today. We are grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 30th year of services here at SaskTel Center. And on behalf of the veterans, current serving military, 2024 Remembrance Day Committee, we would like to thank each and every one of you and your families for attending today and all those viewing. We would like to especially thank the Saskatoon Concert Band, Salvation Army Band, massed pipes and drums of the North Saskatchewan Regiment, pipes and drums of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 63, Saskatoon City Police Pipes and Drums, Saskatoon Tri-Service Cadet Band, Pipe Major Brad Fenty, Captain Aaron Bopney, Rogers TV, and of course, the staff at SaskTel Center. Join us in 2025 for the 94th Saskatoon Remembrance Day Service here at SaskTel Center. Thank you, enjoy your visits at the Legions, and have a safe day.